All right, everyone, we need to talk immediately because a major blizzard is officially underway across the Midwest and Great Lakes as I'm speaking to you right now. This isn't a forecast anymore. This is reality unfolding in real time, and what I'm about to show you is going to blow your mind. We're breaking down exactly why the atmosphere is absolutely supercharging this system into a monster, the critical timing you need to prepare for, and the snowfall totals that are going to bury entire communities. But here's the thing that should really grab your attention. This energy isn't done with us. Not even close. This same system is already eyeing the East Coast, which could mean massive snowstorms are brewing on the horizon. We're going to walk through the entire unfolding pattern and the major implications for the eastern states, because what's developing could be the setup we've been waiting years to see. First things first, let's look at what's already happening right now because the situation is absolutely wild. Heavy snowfall is pounding North Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, Nebraska, and Kansas. All of these states are dealing with very heavy snow already falling from the sky. We've got thunderstorms rumbling down south across Illinois. We've had some earlier today as well, and this severe weather threat is going to continue underneath this system. This is a multifaceted weather disaster happening simultaneously across a huge swath of the country. By the way, if you'd like specific weather forecasts for your region or city, please leave them in the comments. I'll answer them individually as time allows. Also, if you like the video and subscribe to my channel, you'd be very grateful. Now, let's move on. Right as this system reaches its lowest pressure and highest intensity, and I'm talking about a legitimate bomb cyclone here, we see heavy snowfall absolutely hammering portions of Wisconsin and the western upper peninsula of Michigan. Once we reach midnight, things really get going for the entirety of that upper peninsula. Heavy, relentless snowfall combined with very strong winds, and it's highly probable that we'll have legitimate blizzard conditions occurring throughout many of these areas. This isn't just heavy snow. This is the kind of blizzard that makes travel impossible, that strands people, that creates life-threatening situations for anyone caught outside. This continues for a while. By 5 in the morning, as we move entirely through the overnight hours, we start seeing the lower portions of Michigan getting hammered, especially the western areas of the lower peninsula. They're dealing with that heavy snowfall as well, and their totals are going to pile up extremely high. Northern Illinois and northern Indiana get involved as we reach those really early morning hours when temperatures are at their coldest and snow accumulates most efficiently. As we progress toward later morning, this is 9 o'clock Monday morning, we start seeing things dying down for Wisconsin and the upper peninsula, but we're still absolutely ripping across the lower peninsula of Michigan, portions of Illinois including Chicago and northern Indiana. By 4 o'clock Monday afternoon on December 29th, we see much more lake-effect snowfall happening as our primary low has moved out. But here's the thing. There are still very quick-moving cold winds traveling over those lakes, which means lake-effect snow continues for hours after this storm is already finished with its main act. Even by midnight going into Tuesday, December 30th, we still see some lake-effect bands cranking. You can imagine this is going to pile the totals even higher. That finally starts coming to an end as we reach Tuesday morning. Now let's talk about why this is occurring, because understanding the meteorology helps you grasp just how dangerous this situation really is. We need to discuss how much warmth and humidity we've been dealing with underneath this system. Throughout Christmas and the days following, it's been exceptionally warm and humid in these areas. Perfect conditions for supercharging a storm like this where we're seeing it bomb out, lowering in pressure significantly because it's picking up so much more energy than we typically see in wintertime systems. We're watching this trough move into that very warm and humid environment, and our storm is right in the middle of it as it dips down into the Midwest and Great Lakes. Looking at the temperatures, we see very warm readings compared to normal. We're talking 10, 15, 20, even 25 degrees or more above normal across the Midwest and deeper south. As we continue moving through time, we see colder, drier air absolutely slamming through as this storm moves through. This is why we're seeing severe weather as well. Warm air colliding with cold air. You know what that leads to. Let me dive into the exact temperatures to show you how warm it actually is. The humidity, the dew points, we're dealing with 60s in here, which is what you typically see in springtime. This is extremely humid air that's also being infused into the system. Once we take this into account, there's absolutely no question as to why this storm is so intense compared to typical winter storms. It's dealing with very untypical humidity and high temperatures that are allowing it to really take off explosively. Here we can see where the pressure really drops rapidly over the Great Lakes and Midwest area. As you're watching this right now, we're seeing it dramatically decrease in pressure over the Great Lakes as it's infused with all that humidity, energy, and warmth. It continues dropping in pressure all the way into the 970 millibar range, which is considered a very major low-pressure system. This is going to be an absolute monster of a storm. There's no other way to describe it. Let's talk about total snowfall and what you can expect as far as amounts throughout this area, because it's going to be massive. Anywhere in the gray zones is dealing with a dusting up to an inch or two. The blues represent 2 to 6 inches of snowfall. Purples are 6 to 10 inches, which we're talking about across Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan. Those higher amounts as we start getting very plowable snow that's going to shut down roads. Then the pinks are where things get very intense. That's where we're mostly expecting 10 to 20 inches of snowfall throughout much of Minnesota, northern Wisconsin, the entire upper peninsula of Michigan, and the northern and western edge of the lower peninsula of Michigan. We even see some pastel blue zones on the northern edge of the upper peninsula here, and that's where we're dealing with 2 to 3 foot amounts as lake effect snowfall tallies on a bunch more accumulation after the main storm is done. We're talking in feet, not inches, for this area. This is the kind of snowfall that makes national news, that creates historic events people talk about for years. We're talking about the Arctic Oscillation first, which is one of our key indicators for cold temperatures that support snow systems, not only in the eastern states, but really across the United States in general. We can see this is negative and staying negative for the entire European model run. This is overall considered favorable for cold and snowy conditions. But this isn't the only factor we're watching. Let's look at the storms we see on today's model run because the European model does show in the long range some nor'easter type systems. One is right around that 6th and 7th after we get that good jet stream setup. The 8th and 9th is going to be your most favorable snow system we see. The jet stream is in perfect placement for a snow system like this. We get heavy snowfall in a semi-vertical snowstorm which can produce very heavy accumulations. Often as they move offshore, they tend to intensify, and we see that occurring here. Heavy snowfall essentially from West Virginia and Virginia all the way through Maryland, D.C., Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, and into southern New England. This would be a pretty heavy hitter in this instance, and we're left with very cold air after it's done. The total snowfall for this type of system, talking about the semi-vertical system we just saw, would be plowable snowfall straight from West Virginia, D.C., and Maryland, straight into northern Delaware, New Jersey, even Philadelphia, New York City, southern New England, straight to Boston. This is a classic snowstorm corridor to see these types of systems. A lot of times people are waiting for big hits like this across the major mid-Atlantic and northeast cities, and we do get one on this European model, just very far out. If we get a pattern that supports systems like this, we could get even bigger snowstorms than what I'm showing you, but for similar areas. That's what I'm warning you about because we have the ingredients and it's looking more and more favorable by the day. There's still a long way to go, but we're watching very, very closely. Looking at the entire model run, we see our big blizzard move through, cold front comes through, and we get a ridge in the west and trough in the east. Lake effect snow goes almost immediately. We get another clipper system for Tuesday the 30th, just a couple days from now, moving through the Great Lakes, impacting the mid-Atlantic and northeast a bit. Almost immediately for Wednesday the 31st, we have another minor clipper rolling through the Midwest, also impacting the Ohio Valley and perhaps the mid-Atlantic and northeast. What's interesting is that if we didn't have this super strong low in one position, and this was actually the primary low, we've seen this so many times, this could climb up and actually be a massive system right here for Tuesday the 6th. That is a potential outcome at this point. By the time we cross over the 7th into the 8th, everything swings around and we get southern energy infused earlier. We get this vertical climbing jet stream, pretty classic setup, and then we get heavy snowfall for Kentucky, West Virginia, Maryland, D.C., and Pennsylvania for Friday the 9th. That lasts through the day on the 9th for eastern Pennsylvania, New Jersey, southern New England, and southern New York. There's a very strong offshore storm at 986 millibars in prime position. I cannot emphasize that enough. This is exceptionally prime positioning. Then we get very cold temperatures after that on the 10th, 11th, and 12th, although that's when we start moving into very far out territory. We're watching for it. It's not super high confidence yet for specific details, but the pattern based on everything does look very favorable. It points that way. We have a bit more confidence than we typically would in a long-range cold look just because all the pieces are at play. It makes sense not just from a model standpoint, but logically. Everything happening around the globe, it all makes sense. Diving into total precipitation, we see high amounts along the west coast, but the west as a whole is slowing down. We see lots of activity for the eastern area, as really everything points this way. The trend is going to be much of our activity focusing on the east as opposed to the west and central states over time. Total snowfall in the whole model run would be acceptable out west, and then for the northern plains, Midwest, Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic, and Northeast, I don't think snow lovers would have any complaints here. This is an exceptionally snowy pattern we see through this entire model run looking forward. The bottom line, we have a historic blizzard happening right now across the Midwest and Great Lakes that's going to bury communities in feet of snow. But beyond that, the atmospheric setup is aligning for potentially major East Coast snowstorms in the coming weeks, the kind of vertical climbing nor'easters we haven't seen in years. All the teleconnections are lining up, the jet stream configuration is becoming favorable, and the models are consistently showing significant snow signals. This could be the pattern shift East Coast snow lovers have been desperately waiting for. Stay tuned, because if this plays out, we're going to see some absolutely massive snowstorms affecting millions of people from Virginia to Maine. The pieces are falling into place, and January could be legendary.